Thank you so much for being with us
Absolutely.
today. We are here at the Round Top Film Festival in Round Top, Texas, and off the jump, what's your relationship with Texas? If you have one. If you don't have one, it's fine.
Well,
But
I have one. I mean, ironically enough, I've scouted Texas a lot for various films, and most notably with a favorite son, Robert Benton. I had done a couple of films with Benton, and he had a script he very much wanted to do in Texas, even maybe a little bit in his hometown of Waxahachie. And so we scouted it for that. I scouted it for another film over the years. I've premiered one opera at the Houston Grand Opera, but that's probably the extent of it.
it's on
And I've never been to Round Top before.
Well, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Yeah.
And when you talk about scouting, what is your mindset when you're scouting? You're walking around, driving around.
Right. Yeah.
How are you
So,
cataloging your experience?
I mean, so the first thing I do as a designer, and I start in the theater, so I'm very much the same process, is you read the material, have a conversation with the director to read their pulse, their vision, and then really dig into the research so that I feel like I have a great, kind of library or catalog of information to make sure that I'm being accurate with my work, and then start the scouting. And I would say that the research and the scouting are really the honeymoon. It's, the best time.
Because you can just dream.
Because you can dream. And now things have changed over the years, but originally, so first of all, traditionally a production designer is one of the first heads of department to be brought into a project, because it's that dialogue with the director to start understanding what the film is going to look like, which sometimes reflects on what the film might cost. And then the scouting begins. And so where I was going with this is that certainly early in my career, I got to be, maybe have a little bit more influence in where films were going to be made, depending upon the material. And so it's just going out and start exploring the world. Almost everything I've done as a designer is based on the real world. A little bit of fantasy, but mostly what I've done is based on the real world. So starting with where the story actually takes place, if you find out from the economic standpoint that, it's too expensive to shoot a film in New York, so you're looking for an alternative New York somewhere. I've done that plenty, more than I cared to, because I always like to be on the real place.
But are you like walking, or you drive? I'm just interested in how you experience space,
no,
right? 'Cause that feels like a big part of it.
Definitely walking wherever I can.
Because of the rhythm of seeing what's around you?
Exactly.
Or just, yeah.
When you're driving, that's for the very big picture, but you want to start finding details, moments, pieces of architecture that are going to help you tell the story. So, but yeah, there's a lot of driving involved, no question. But then when you reach that point where you can go out and just start, I'm trying to feel the world. I'm trying not to be a designer. I'm trying to figure out what the world looks like that this story is going to unfold in, that the audience will believe.
It's beautiful. How did you start in this line of work? It's such a formal title, production designer, but I'm curious about the road before that.
A little bit of history. That title didn't come in until the film Gone with the Wind, because for that production, the art director, which was the formal title at that point, created so much to the look of that film that they thought that it was important to have a title maybe a little grander and more.
This is 1929. What is
1939?
1939. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So that's where the title comes from. So now, Christian, what was the question?
When did you yourself kind of declare yourself as a production designer?
So I started in the theater, and like I'm embarrassed to say, probably from my youngest years, just being, fascinated by the stage and acting and designing, and because I had a strong interest in art as well. So, as a kid. But in high school, I was not only acting in the school play, but designing the sets, because I, had this love of art also. And then at undergraduate school, I actually studied theater design. And then from there went on to graduate school, where I was in the theater design program at the Yale School of Drama. And from there, designed a couple of plays at the Yale Repertory Theater, which got some notice in the New York Times and other papers, and started my career in the theater in New York City, as well as, designing, Broadway, off-Broadway, but also regional theater all the way across the country. And then in 1980, I'm going to say, Robert Altman, esteemed, another esteemed director.
He's a one a year kind of. He was a one a year kind of guy, which I always find fascinating. And I cannot
whatever
comprehend.
He could, whatever he could, and so. If you don't mind me calling him Bob. Bob came to New York. He had it with Hollywood. He was going to be a stage director. He did a couple of two-act plays off Broadway, and then his Broadway debut was a play by Ed Graysick from Texas called "Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean," with a crazy cast of Cher and Sandy Dennis and Kathy Bates and
God
Karen
bless his
Black.
soul. I love him so much.
Yeah.
His artistic spirit is so unique, and the sprawling, his love of ensemble and plays. And yes, I could go on.
Well, but sort of to that point, the play was a huge failure on Broadway, and so what would he do except make a movie out of it? So he asked me to do that film. So now you just tell me if I'm just rambling all over the place. He taught me so much about making movies, obviously. That was the first film I ever did. But also about art and how to create art and how to trust mistakes, how to improvise, how to sort of read the rhythms of the material and see where it takes you. I mean, even his camera work, he had this fantastic jib arm camera which would just sort of wander around.
Always roaming.
Yeah.
You're right. Even the sound, the sort of multitudes of feeds you're hearing, and this, yes.
Like real life, right? And so that was a huge awakening for me, because theater, what's different is the structure. In many ways it's the same. You read the play, you meet with the director, you see what their vision is that you're going to help to realize, and you design a set, and then it goes on stage, and that's it. Nothing changes, right? But with film, and certainly with Bob, once the set was designed, anything could happen. I remember one day I'd done the set, it's a little dime store outside of Marfa, Texas, a five and dime, and we designed the set, which had a little bit of a trick to it. It had a before and after, a before and after telling of the story. And he said, I need Cher, and if I could remember her character's name, I'd use her character's name. I want Cher to go into a closet, and then she'll come back out again. And there was no closet on the set; it wasn't scripted, and so I had to design a little closet. Take some scenery out, create a little doorway, on the spot. So I love that. I love that you could do that.
How do the spaces we inhabit, create, construct, reflect who we are?
Christian, say that again. Would you mind?
We all have homes, right, which we decorate to our means, economic means. We have workplaces, which we could decorate our little cubicle, or the manager decorates the office, right? How do these places reflect us,
Well, as you say, you make choices, right, as a person. To some people, it means a lot, right? The things that they have around them.
Like we're right now in a really interesting room. Which I don't understand, but it's an interesting room.
I'm not taking credit for it. My personal style is to edit and to eliminate pieces until you have made just the choices that not just reflect who you are, but are spaces that you can feel comfortable in. So obviously that's going to be absolutely different with every single person, right? Like I say, I tend to like to edit things out, and certainly in the film work that I do. I mean, if you take something like, come back to the Five and Dime Jimmy Dean, it had to have a lot of noise because it was a dime store, so there's a lot of merchandise. But I tried to really control the palette of that merchandise so that you kind of understand what the space is, but it's not pulling your attention away from the story and the words. And that's kind of been, I was going to say, my philosophy. It's just who I am.
Right.
If you're going to tell a story, if you're going to be the author of the world that the story takes place in, the last thing you want to do is steal the thunder of the storyline itself and the characters and the words that they're speaking.
And to that point, I'm interested, Life of Pi is an interesting film in your body of work in terms of the level of CGI. And I remember watching that film thinking, how did they even make this? Like this, I can't even comprehend it.
Well, how long do we have? I could tell you all.
I think we got 10 minutes, but I'm curious about, your practice is so rooted in material and the real world construction.
Absolutely.
But a film like that is
so there's
not.
Two reasons. I'll tell you, after I did that film, I got called inquiries about my availability for any number of superhero movies. And I was like, I'm not going to go into specifics, but, it's like, I don't think you understand who I am and what I do. And there was one such movie, and the producer was on the line with the director, and they were really, really pushing it. And, you have such a sense of reality and how you set up the world. And I said, yeah, but there's going to be like a lot of fights and explosions, right? I said, that has nothing to do with me. I have nothing to bring to that story. So, but I had just done a film with Ang Lee. And I think he's a remarkable director and a really remarkable person.
His body of work is just so mind-blowing to me, and I respect all of it.
Well,
the whole
again,
film, all of it, Brokeback Mountain, all of it is so worthy.
All the different genres that he's done. So when Ang asked me, well, first of all, it was very funny because we had just done Taking Woodstock. Much different film. And he asked if I would be interested in doing Life of Pi. So first of all, it's an amazing piece of literature.
Yes.
Without a doubt. So you wouldn't think it would be the kind of film that I would want to do, but the literature was amazing, and Ang Lee is amazing. So I know as a designer, even though there are things, so many things in that film that I had never done before as a designer, I know I'm going to be protected by my director, because I know that even though so much of that film, because that's the story, is an unbelievable sort of concoction or fantasy, that Ang was going to find a way to tell that story that it wouldn't feel like that. And even though it was going to be 3D, which was very much in vogue at the time,
right?
I knew that Ang would find a way to use 3D that wouldn't feel like any other film.
And on the opposite side of the spectrum, Ripley,
yes,
which is a black and white series.
Thank you for bringing that up.
How does your thinking shift in a black and white context?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because of my personal desire to edit and keep things.
And so when you say edit, can you clarify for me what you're meaning?
Pulling away
what's not necessary.
What's not necessary. I mean,
critique the room. You're welcome.
No. But I mean, here's the thing. This lamp is here for a reason, right? To shed light. But for this frame, it's just a distraction. Mm-hmm. So first thing I do is pull the lamp out.
Right.
And probably the one on the other side as well.
Right.
And, I don't know if you're catching a little bit of the piano here, but could be interesting to the frame. But, there are pieces that aren't necessary. And the thing is, this could come out, but then that column still tells the same story. Mm-hmm. You haven't left the room. Mm-hmm. So that's what I mean by editing.
Understood. I interrupted you, but
no.
For Ripley in this black and white mode.
So Ripley is the last thing I did, and we did that. We really finished making it almost 3 years ago, shooting it. Since then, it's been very still much a part of my life, because there have been, luckily, a lot of people want to know about it and ask about it in film festivals, and so. I've always wanted to do a black and white film, especially for a period piece, for two reasons. But the first reason is that now color isn't part of the story. Mm-hmm. So now you're only relying on sort of pure design, architecture, framing to create that world. And I love that. Color has always been so much a part of what I've done with films, mostly because I try to keep my work as monochromatic as possible, but still not feeling artificial, for that very reason of wanting to keep the focus on the world and not on the noise of it. But so finally being able to eliminate color was just I don't know where to go from here. It's it was heaven for me.
Oh, wow. That's
fascinating.
Really
heaven for me.
That's fascinating.
And the second reason, I'm sure you were going to ask me, is that when you're doing a period film, well, I'll tell you, I did a film years ago I did a couple of films for Merchant Ivory, and one was Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. At the beginning of Mr. and Mrs. Bridge, there's a home movie of Mrs. Bridge, India, with her young daughter, and trying to get her to jump into a swimming pool. And so it's shot like a home movie, but a home movie in the late 1930s. And so we screened the dailies of it after, the day after we shot it. And Jim was like, oh my God, in black and white, you can get away with so much on a period film. Why haven't we been doing all of our films in black and white? So that was maybe 80, I don't know. That was the late 80s. It took me till 2019. We started Ripley in 2019. We didn't finish till 22. It took me that long in my career to finally get to sort of finish the experiment.
That's amazing, those threads that stay open for.
When I read it, I'd done Steve Zaillian's first two movies, so we had a long relationship over the years, but he did other things between searching for Bobby Fischer and
I love that movie so
Action.
much.
Yeah.
That's such a great film.
I've
Oh
got
my
stories
gosh.
there too. I'm sorry. So I had just finished doing a limited series for Netflix. No, not for Netflix. Sorry, for Hulu, I believe, in Italy called based on Catch-22. So Steve writes me an email and says, "David, would you and Karen is my wife and my supervising art director on most of the films I've done. Yeah. Do you and Karen be interested in going back to Italy?" And I said, "Steve, of course. I mean, of course, I would do anything that he asked me to do. So, but Italy, absolutely." And somehow I must have read that email too quickly because I just assumed it was a film. And then he sent me, all 8 scripts at once. And of course, it read like a novel. He's such an amazing screenwriter. And my first reaction was kind of panic because it was so big. But as soon as I got over that initial panic, there wasn't one moment in that story that I didn't want to be a part of and want to help create that world. So it took a bit of time to get it made. I mean, we luckily had a long production period prior to shooting, and we had the right team, wonderful Italian team, and we figured it out step by step.
With these teams, which I imagine, like the scale of what you're doing is pretty serious, how do you manage these teams and get everyone to kind of complete the vision? That's such a fascinating, that's like separate from the kind of artistic practice that I'm hearing you talk to me about. Yeah. And I'm just curious how you navigate that. I mean,
on something like Ripley, which was probably, we had a big team on Life of Pi because of the scale of it. We were based in Taiwan, but we were shooting in India as well. So we had a team in India as well as our main team in Taiwan. But Ripley was the biggest team that we had ever worked with because we were in 6 different cities in Italy as well as New York City, all 1960, 61. And but Ripley was my 3rd film or project in Rome or in Italy. So I had a lot of people that I had worked with before. On Ripley, we had the entire crew that we had on Catch-22, as well as a bunch of extra people to fill in, get all the work done. So I don't know. I feel like I've been so lucky. We've been lucky enough to work all over the world with teams in France and Italy and the UK, all across Canada, and certainly all across the US. And I just really don't think I've ever had a crew that I wasn't happy with. And so that's luck, I guess. And lucky enough that people want to work with us, work with me. So
what say you to somebody interested in production design coming up in the world?
So this is my speech on that. It's important to know how to draw.
In terms of just seeing the world and translating it? Or?
Right. So in terms of just the most rudimentary ability to do a little doodle, if you're sitting at a bar with your director and he's asking you about something and you just want to do a little doodle for him to understand what that is. You don't have to be great. I don't feel like I was ever great at rendering. You have to be able to draft because you want to be able to, you're going to start out and you're not going to have team of 24 like I had on Ripley, right? So you're going to be doing pretty much everything yourself. So you have to be able to draft. So you have a piece of paper or a piece of drafting that you can give to your construction team. You have to be able to explain color and texture to your painters. So you need that ability to understand color and texture. So you need those rudimentary skills. And then I think, or what I like to preach is, now you can do that and then just think about the story that you want to tell or the story you want to help tell with the director, and don't be a designer. Because if you're a good designer, you're not going to be able to stop talking about the lamp on your right, right? And so you don't have to think about it. And if you think about it too much, you're going to start sort of like, oh, well, I think, I saw this great wallpaper or this great fabric. You'll just know what those things should be. And if you worry that too much, I think, then you start to be, it starts to be about design and the choices that you made. And in fact, you want those choices to be invisible in the end, because you want the total vision to have been so perfect in creating a world that the story can live in.
I'm really, it's very natural, I guess, to consider your career shifting from the theater to film, and I'm just curious about your thoughts on the importance of viewing things collectively. Like in movie theater, you have, in a theater,
right,
you got 200 people, whatever the house is. In the movie theater, you got whatever the house is. Is that important to you? What are your thoughts on that? Because it feels like something we're getting a little bit away from in the age of streaming and sort of isolated viewing.
I mean, I think, Christian, ultimately, if a story is good, it works in any medium. That's what I think. I know, how many times have you heard this now? Things changed because of the pandemic, right? Changed for me. All of a sudden, we're like watching TV. And, not just watching TV, but like, like all over the place. Anything, right? I flew out from New York the other day, and to my shock, there was like no little monitor for watching a movie.
Oh,
so
on the plane seat?
Yeah. There were none of that. But you could watch a movie on your phone or your iPad or whatever you had. So I watched a whole movie on my phone. I'd never done that before. So is it unfortunate? Yeah, because the whole culture and experience of watching a piece of theater or watching a movie with other people is really fulfilling. But I do think if the material works, I think we have to accept that you can appreciate it on any medium. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be different if you watch something at home and then happen to go see that same thing in a movie theater. It's going to be different, because then, it's there as opposed to sort of being in a box. I mean, depending upon how big your TV is, I don't know. I guess some people have really big TVs. But yeah, it's going to be different. And that's what I think.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We really appreciate it. Subscribe to the KERA Arts YouTube channel for more original content, panels, and conversations.